Welcome to the NBA.com. This is John's reports for the 26th. Well, the momentum from the previous week's jump sort of died off a little bit. And right here, you can see on the daily the continuation of shorts within this with the MBI white leading magenta. It's enough to keep things held up to where they are, but any fade in bulls at this particular stage is problematic. And you can also see um, this back and forth spider. We don't see that very often. That's a clear indication of that indecision by the market. And in this particular case, we see the resurgence of shorts from that, and even a fading of the DSC still here, which is the short-term buyers. That reset is critical if there's going to be any sustained run going forward. Shakeout was able to continue to move higher, but it's going to be under pressure, and any dip back into this, that will be your next round. But what would be interesting would be to return back to the lows on higher shakeout readings, and that would become the divergence that you would be looking for a sustained move. It doesn't mean that we still can't make it up towards the 50%. It's just a much tougher trek for um, the bulls in this case, and at the end of the month, yeah, a little bit tougher to try and achieve that. But the start of the new month with new fund money coming in, you're poised if they're able to maintain at these levels. You can see them from a Nasdaq standpoint. But the same thing, right up against the 38% in this particular case. Everything's still rising from that standpoint, except for DOC. You're still in that continuation mode of murky sadness, so to speak. And this is not unexpected. It's just what is going to take place for a while until things can be clarified, so to speak, as far as where the economy is going with it, how much continued blockage there's going to be within the broader ability of the economy to move forward. And we've already talked about all the reasons why that's been stalled, and been a very effective campaign in keeping things capped. But there is this huge amount of investment potentially coming. How will that impact treasuries? What's the expectation? Well, um, the Fed's still caught in this idea that that's going to generate inflation with the tariffs and that, though I think that's just going to prove out to be one of the worst calls ever. But that's just my opinion on it, because the economics on it, in my view, are straightforward. Even though they think that it's some massive inflationary thing, this doesn't make sense what they're describing. So we'll see how the Fed is able to react within that. They're going to be a impediment, and they may be looking for some type of a recession built into it to make things easier, but it just doesn't, because at the end of the day, even if they go into a low liquidity, what are they going to do with their balance sheet? It's still a wreck. It's problems all the way around. All comes down to this one, and oil. As long as it continues to rise, you're hamstrung. It just does no good for anything. And we talked about there may be a new base in what the lowest level of oil can be based on what inflation has done and the cost of things. There's that practical element to it, but it really becomes a supply versus demand issue. And if you can't increase the supply, then demand's going to outstrip it. That's going to keep prices elevated. The lovely, move of the euro here, so strong. The eurozone, so strong. Being facetious, of course, and you can see MBI White starting to lead now, so we could see further breakdown towards that move back down to the 105 mid-range or lower. Uh, their issues are long and well replete, but gold's still going to be the big winner, and through all this, and it becomes still the broader safety zone, particularly since crypto has not been able to really turn things around to the point of justifying plunging back into it. It's still not horrible by any stretch of the imagination, but the shine on that bubble has sort of faded a little bit. It's becoming a more mature uh, asset class relative to what we see from Nasdaq, and it still has the same perturbations. And I always have said from the beginning, I see it as just a form of another place that you can park money in between, particularly if you don't want to be in any particular currency or anything, and it just allows you a flexibility. I don't think that's changed any. And once the futures were established, we knew exactly what that would cause. And the whole big thing about the ETFs that was going to change everything was like, Based on what? You already have futures, so ETF just means more people can do the same thing that they were doing already, which gave the opportunity to short Bitcoin that didn't exist. So from the 50K standpoint, you can see there wasn't a whole lot of anything. It's pretty muted from that standpoint. You had some weakness with the breakdown of Magenta. No real strong rise from an NBI White. You had steel coming from underneath, so it just reverted from the cyan under red to just a mixed move, and it's still back and forth on that call right now. Could see a DOC spread right here, and that would suggest more weakness. As long as the shakeout stays positive, you're likely to hold above any of these key support levels here in the 76%. Any of those should be fine unless that breaks down further. From a shakeout standpoint, and you get into the negative territory, then you'd be looking at a much deeper and potentially filling these. I mean, don't forget positive extreme. So still have that 57.37. Can't let those slip your mind. And you can see we had just from an option standpoint, started the morning, calls came in. They had to flip that around to the puts. They tried again with calls, more puts added back into it. And then at the end of the day, they let the call buyers have it. And this is just them evening out the book. This is very normal, very healthy. Um, and actually pretty clean action. And here in the European session, not a whole lot of excitement. Unless something significant when we start to get data reads towards the, well, starting now into the end of the week, we'll start to get a better idea of some things. I don't know that it's going to provide all that much clarity. I think that there's still going to be a lot of murk in the situation. And until we get, towards the middle of the year, which is what I talked about from last year, playing out that way. It could even take longer now because the effective stall tactics that have been instituted working, and that slows things down. So there you have it. Still simple one to follow. Just look at where oil is going, and it's going to give you a pretty clear idea of how we see things progressing. So that's the long and the short of it. Have a good one. Anything relevant, I'll put on the Skype chat. Trade well.